Hello dear chess friends, welcome to new video course and welcome to our first chapter and our first game. This video course is about legacy of great Cuban player, genius actually, Jose Raul Capablanca, and that first video chapter is about converting advantage in Rook endgames, but not only about converting, it is about creating something out of nothing, about increasing advantage, improving the position, preventing opponent play. You will learn a lot from these 5 examples in that chapter related to mastering Rook endgames from Jose Raul Capablanca. And let's start with first game in that chapter and in our video course. Not frequently published game Portela Capablanca, that was actually simultaneous production game that was played in 1913. Capablanca led black pieces and game started with e4, e5. You probably know Capablanca was a real master of open games, especially 4 knights game and the Ruy Lopez, and there are really many examples and many instruction moments you can find in that video course about these openings. After e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, here bishop c4 was played, and okay, bishop c5, Italian opening, and actually some version of Gioco Piano played with d3, and after knight f6, old continuation bishop e3 took place in the game. Idea of bishop e3 is to eliminate the bishop, to eliminate pressure on that longer diagonal, and also idea can be to open f-file with attack on the king side. So for instance, if black takes, okay, playable, not bad. White would probably go for queen e1, queen somewhere to the king side. Maybe that resource knight h4, knight f5, very often h3, g4, launching pawns. Knight can be used c3, d5, or maybe e2, g3, or maybe some other route via d1, d2, and f1. But okay, in our game, black played bishop b6. Here we will keep focus on the endgames, but still we must lighten some opening ideas and principles. Queen d2 with idea maybe to sacrifice on h6 if black plays castling with h6, of course. That is not good, that is spot rather for the knight. Bishop g4 targeting the knight, and now knight goes to g5. After knight g5, black has some crossroads and black should castle. That looks more logical instead of played move bishop h5. After castling, h3, bishop h5, g4 for instance would be typical mistake because this move, and after f takes e3, knight g4 would lead white to problems. White must play knight f7, but here as you can see there is very dangerous attack. Black is practically pawn up because majority 6 against 5 on the queen side would be useless, where black can easily use 2 against 1 majority on the king side. White is in ruins and strategically definitely lost. So of course after casting g4 would be mistake, but it is important to say that white would be the side that would be in trouble, because if not g4 there is h3, forcing practically white to double pawns after knight f3 and bishop takes. So after knight g5, bishop h5 was played, not as precise. Bishop b6, ab, and white consistently continued playing on the king side with f4. After h6, knight f3 was played. You can pause the video here, I suggested you do that, and to give me or to find plan for black here. Now I will say, of course, bishop f3 is played move and knight d4, where after rook f2 there is b5 hunting on the bishop, and after bishop b3 very fine move c6, black prepares queen b6, there would be threat of knight g4. That bishop would be in trouble, not possible to play c3 because bishop will fall and rook will fall. So white has limited possibilities with his pieces on the queen side. Knight c3 is maybe the only possibility, but after knight g4, rook ff1, black just perfectly got chance to get desired endgame after taking check and king h1. It is important to say that taking with a pawn would not work because there is this, and after check there would be something like that. That would be, for instance, destroying. So after cb, queen b6, king h1, Capablanca didn't miss chance to play queen e3 invading, and that would lead to better endgame, more or less better endgame depending on white's next move. White here failed. He should do queen e2, and after queen e2, knight e2 is better version for white because black cannot play both b4 and knight there. What happened in the game I will explain, and you will very soon see. Practically everything is forced. Since the moment black played queen b6, everything is forced. Queen e3 taking, rook f2 to prevent knight c2, but b4, knight e2 looks logical, knight c2, and after this move knight d4. Inviting white to take. If white takes, okay, there would be problem with that pawn on a2, and black can just do king e7 with doubling, and white would be in terrible problems on that a file. Black has more flexible pawn structure and white pawns might be in danger. So after fe, fantastic move knight e2, intermediate move, and now white is in big problems. If you play against Capablanca, maybe we can say that white is already a bit strategically lost, or there is, let's say, even if that is holdable, and I really think that is not, that would not be holdable if you are Mr. Portela against Mr. Capablanca. I do not want to underestimate anyone, but still you will see. Not only from that video course, I suggest you to find other examples where Capablanca dominated in rook endgames, especially in 4 rook endgames. So some endgames against Kramberg and Kupchik, and maybe some other guys are not presented here in video course. We couldn't present everything, but that would be good to see. Capablanca's mastership in 4 rooks endgames. Arena's endgame must be winning for black because there is chance to organize play on the a file. There is chance to organize play on the d file as well. White has problem with backward pawn a2 and problem with backward pawn d3. So black can simultaneously attack these pawns with definitely successful leading this campaign. So you will see that white couldn't do anything to save the game in case of black precise play. So rook a1, that is must, as you can see, to defend the pawn. Capablanca played king e7. Of course king belongs in the center, casting would be terrible mistake. After a4, white correctly plays on the queen side with that pawn to get rid of one weakness, but black failed here. ba, rook h8 would be more aggressive. Now black pawns, white pawns would be easier accessible from black rooks, but okay. Black hurried to play rook hd8, that is not good, and white failed to defend the pawn. He missed better continuation rook e3. He played rook d2, and that is terrible. If opponent attacks your pawn frontally, do not keep rook behind the pawn, because that may lead to pin. So try to defend pawn front side, because rook can provide some activity here. With rook d2, maybe in some moment there will be something like that, who knows. and that pawn would be pinned because rook would be not defended. So that is principle. If opponent frontally attacks your backward pawn, or let's say just pawn, weak pawn on the file frontally with rooks or maybe with queens, generally with major pieces, but frontally, you should try to defend the pawn from the side, from left or from the right. Don't set your major piece behind the pawn because there can be pin used. So rook d4. Now you see motif of the pin. Rook a d1. Without that, there would be that, for instance. Even that would be hanging hanging pawn. So rook a d1, and now g6. Correctly, I noted that c4 would be the plan to use pin of that pawn, but that is not working in that position because there is b3 pawn guarding on c4 square. But after f5, e4 would be the option, and after g4, preventing that, black played f5, and that would lead to end. What happens in case of king f2? There would be f5, and in case of king e3 there would be f4. White would be practically pawn down. As you can see, groupation of black pawns, 3 pawns on the queen side, will paralyze groupation of 4 pawns on the queen side. So black would practically have extra pawn on the king side. With this majority, black will easily lose the game. Black will easily win the game, pardon. Maybe rooks will go behind, maybe king will go active. So there are many prospects for black, but generally that would be the plan. White tried g4, but f5 just was played, and after gf, ef, there is king f6. White cannot do anything to prevent e4. He must bring his king closer, but after bringing his king closer, black will not play e4, not right now, because that pawn can be defended. White to calculate what happens in that pawn endgame. Maybe that's winning, maybe not. It is better to play rook h4. What is the point? Pawn on f5 will fall, so black is not pawn down, that's clear. Black has more active king, and black has especially more active artillery. So these rooks would be used here and there. There are many pawns black can attack. So he started with rook h4 to deliver pressure on h2 pawn. King f3 was played normal move, king f5, and now rook f1 would be best continuation, where after rook f4 that must be winning for black, of course. Much more active rook, much more active king. There will be even some desired pawn endgame that may happen after all that is placed. So after king f5, rook g1 was played. That allows nice end, and I allow you to pause the video and to try to get your own decision here. What would be your solution here for white? Right now I will say, so don't play rook h3. Black will not get the pawn because white will not move the king. White will play rook g3. But idea is to play rook d3. That fork ends the game. Now after e4, game is over. If king e2, there is very important intermediate check. So now many pawns will fall, or even black can win in style with rook h3. So king e3 was played, but rook h3 anyway. Removing king will lose the game because I told you about check. If king goes there, rook d3 and material will fall anyway. King will be cut from the rook, and that pawn will easily promote. So after rook h3, white tried rook g3, but there is nothing to get. Taking with tempo, taking and pawn endgame is trivially winning for black. Capablanca is just faster, and here Portela decided to resign. After not to resign immediately, of course, king b7, queen h7, and now after that, in the notation there was queen h2 played, where after king b7, queen b2 was winning. where after promotion queen g2 will win. Let me show you. And now this. No, not this, because that will lead to drawish endgame. Well, what happened is mystery. Actually, I'm pretty sure queen h8 was played here, and with taking on b2, and white decided to resign. Yeah, black can just stay with 2 extra pawns. For instance, in case of taking, there is no need to force queen g2, there is just queen b3 with no checks. King will find shield here, and that is winning. What I want to say is that here queen h2 is moved, you can find in chess base, so I'm pretty sure that was not played. After king b7 it is written that queen b2 was played and white resigned. For sure that was not played. I'm pretty sure actually queen h8 was played with queen takes b2, but okay, we do not pay serious attention on that, and that is not the unique game with the wrong inputted moves. So simply simply it is important for us to pay attention on very fine conducting in rook endgame. So once again, as you already know, we go for that game briefly. Bishop c4, bishop c5. So white did old continuation bishop e3, and queen d2 is not precise, queen is worthless here. Knight g5 is especially risky and actually bad, but Capablanca failed to punish him with bishop h5. Castling would be better. Never mind. So after f4, next stage is so beautiful, and almost everything is forced. Take a look how Capablanca forced getting better endgame. Taking. So after knight f3 is eliminating, black can jump to d4. There is nothing white threatens. Even if fe, de, knight on f6 is very stable, and white cannot do anything on the king side. But black plays for initiative. First b5 with tempo, forcing bishop to come there, and now c6, using fact white cannot play c3. There is idea of queen b6, there is idea of knight g4. After knight c3 everything is forced. Knight g4 to open diagonal. Now taking, queen b6, queen e3. White failed to play queen e2, where black would be somewhat better, but he takes, and in that moment after taking there is b4, and transferring knight to d4, white is forced to accept worse endgame, where pawn on a2 is falling. Well, knight d4 should be played here, but white failed. It is important to say rook a1 will fall to knight b3. So I did mistake by taking. Intermediate move just forced white to stay with 2 pawns that are real targets, especially pawn d3 that cannot be moved. White can take care about a2 pawn, and he did it with rook a1 and a4, but Capablanca failed to take and to have even more promising endgame. Here white failed to defend pawn d3 properly. Rook just belongs to e6, not to e3, pardon, not to d2. After rook d2 there is nothing he can do than to stay passive, but f5 cannot be prevented, and here black got access to many weak pawns of opponent. Rook g1 is fatal mistake and final mistake. Well, not fatal. Game would be, I'm pretty sure, lost in case of better move rook f1, where in that endgame actually with king f4 and d4 black must be winning. Rook g1 was played, but that just simplifies black's task. Black played rook d3, taking, and now there is just trivially winning endgame. Well, here I'm pretty sure something wrongly happened. Capablanca didn't play queen h2. I'm pretty sure that queen h8 was played with check, but okay. That is about that position. Yeah. In case of taking the pawn, why did white resign? I should improve the line by playing this. Yeah. I told earlier that c4 is the move, but c4 is worse than this. Of course, that would be the continuation, and black will win trivially. Yeah, that is the right way to convert. So white resigned because in case of promotion, black will trade queens and bring in closer with easy win. So okay, that was the moment white resigned. It is important to say that once again that if you want to learn Rook endgames together with Rubinstein, of course, Capablanca is the best possible mentor, and that is very crucial and that is very important to analyze from his games. So stay with us, learn from Capablanca. It is time to switch to next video in mastering Rook endgames chapter. Let's go to next one.